Alrighty, guys, kind of weird to say, but we are approaching another MCU Disney Plus show. It's surprising because I personally, and again, this show, we've been talking about it when the trailers have been coming out and whatnot, but this show just kind of has been sneaking up on me ever since it was announced, and then it went silent, and now it's finally coming out in just over a week, and that's Ironheart. And Ironheart, there's a whole backstory to this series that, frankly, I don't even know what it is, because this show was announced, I want to say 2022, surely not 2021, but 2022 at the very latest. And Black Panther: Wakanda Forever came out in November 2022, and it did really well. But people were introduced to Riri Williams, Dominique Thorne, and people seemed to enjoy her performance, even though people, myself included, didn't think that her character really fit into the movie super organically. But still, I thought that she did a good job as the character, introducing us to her. And then we were told that we were going to get a Disney Plus series with her, and that went completely silent for years. They filmed the entire series, we heard, right after Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and just nothing, crickets. The show is being executive produced by Ryan Coogler. He seems like he's really backing it. It doesn't seem like one of those taglines to put on a trailer and really the person wasn't involved. It seems like he's doing interviews and he's really behind this character. So that's good. That's exciting because Ryan Coogler is obviously phenomenally talented. But we just haven't heard anything about this project for a long time, until finally Marvel is like, oh yeah, we're going to release this in 2025. Whoops, here you go. And it's like, oh, okay, great. And so the trailers themselves have not impressed me, though they haven't been, cringeworthy or anything like that. And I think they're fine. The CGI looks good, at least, which is exciting because that's, Ironheart, right? Part of the fun of Ironheart or Iron Man adjacent characters is the suit up scenes, and it looks cool. So, yeah, I'm not terribly excited, but I'm really hoping for some good things. And speaking of hoping, this segment is going to be, just like we do with a lot of the MCU, DCU, Star Wars, big TV show, big movie kind of releases, we're doing our hopes and predictions for Ironheart. So here I have 4 hopes. And hopes are essentially, for me, things that I think if the show does, and if the show lands on these hopes and executes on them, I'm not guaranteeing that for me personally the show is going to be a success, but it's pretty hard to envision a version of the show where if it doesn't hit on these things, that it's not a success, in my eyes. And so I'm really hoping that the show can execute on these things. And then predictions are not necessarily related to the quality of the show, but just things I think are going to happen story-wise, or even meta, in a meta way, like for movies we did box office and whatnot. So, just things that I'm thinking are going to happen. So let's go through my 4 hopes and 4 predictions for the MCU show Ironheart. Starting out with the hopes. Number 1. Stay grounded in Chicago. So Ironheart is going to take place primarily in Chicago. That is Riri Williams' hometown. And the reason I bring this up, it seems kind of random or obscure, but one of the most successful things that an MCU show has done, particularly with a character in the same age range, being Kamala Khan in her own TV show Ms. Marvel, was the aspects of the show that really grounded her in Jersey City. Right, made Jersey City feel as much of a character as anything else in that show, and showed her friends, showed her family, showed her community. And I would love, because from the trailers, it seems like we're going back home for Riri Williams. We're going back to her home in Chicago. I'd love to really spend a lot of time just in her element, in her hometown, meeting her friends and being with her family or whatever that looks like. I don't have a sense for that, but I really think that one of the most successful parts of Ms. Marvel was allowing us to explore Kamala Khan's home and allowing us to really explore her family as well. And so I'm hoping that, Chicago becomes a character, her family becomes a character, her friends, just her community, her environment, I think is a really big part of the show and will help shape how we view Riri Williams in general. So that's hope number 1. Hope number 2, don't shy away from Iron Man, but don't copy him either. What I mean by that is, look, it is, to quote Riri Williams in the trailers, it is undeniable that this character is somewhat derivative of Iron Man. Obviously. She's wearing an Iron Man suit. Don't shy away from that. Don't just pretend that doesn't exist. It's not like I want the entire show to go by without her ever referencing Iron Man. It's an Iron Man suit, right? Like, in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I think Shuri or Okoye, when they meet Riri Williams for the first time, they're like, is it Stark Tech? I think. And that's more of a passing nod. What I mean by this is that it's very clear that you don't make a suit like this without being inspired by Tony Stark. So lean into that in a sense, reference the fact that she really was inspired by Tony Stark. And that she really wants to do what he did, follow in his footsteps in a sense, right? Not just copy him. That's what I mean by copying him, because she went to MIT, he went to MIT, he did that the September Foundation or grant or whatever in Captain America: Civil War. Maybe she was there, or I don't know. Maybe she saw that and she was inspired. That kind of stuff. I think just lean into it. Don't just pretend that there's no connection between the characters. That just doesn't make sense to me. But I also don't want a carbon copy of, okay, so, she gets in trouble, she has to build a suit on her own, Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. I don't think we need to go through that again, beat by beat. That just feels way too derivative, and I think that that's not going to serve the character well. She's a unique character, going back to point one. She has her own family, her own community in Chicago. Let's lean into that. But also, don't just pretend that there's no connection to Iron Man, right? I think that there's a balancing act there that I hope the show can execute on. Hope number 3, we've heard and allegedly seen that Riri Williams is a genius from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever with the vibranium detector. Great. Let's really see it though. And what I mean by that is it's fine and all to say, oh, X character is the smartest person in the MCU. I feel like we've heard that moniker so many different times. And now with Mr. Fantastic, with Reed Richards coming into the MCU, we're going to hear that even more. Who is the smartest person in the MCU? There was once a time when Bruce Banner was the smartest person in the MCU. That seems like it's long gone. Not gone, but, we haven't really referenced that. It's now, It's been Shuri. With Shuri, I feel like Black Panther 1 did a really good job of showing that Shuri was a genius, right? Tony Stark, obviously, they did a great job of building his inventions and inventiveness and creativity. So great. He's a genius. If part of the show is to demonstrate, to explore how Riri is inventing things and inventing the suits and whatnot, then let's really see and establish the fact that she is one of the smartest people in the MCU. It's a moniker that we hear so often, but we don't really get shown it. So that's something that I'm hoping for. And finally, my last hope here is let's not get too goofy with the magic. I think there's a lot of fun we can have with this idea of merging magic and tech, which seems like it's a theme of this show with the Hood and with potentially another character that we'll talk about in my predictions. And I think that's cool and all. And I think that we've seen in the trailers that there's a little bit of meshing of magic with the suit. That's great. I think there is a danger though, and that's why Iron Man, even with Extremis in Iron Man 3, again, kind of science fiction-y, but sure, we'll kind of go with it. But there's a danger with mismatching characters, right? Ant-Man and Kang, while I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania enough, and I thought that the pairing was odd, but fine, there's a danger in mismatching characters like that where it just doesn't really make sense. It doesn't feel like they stack up together. And I'm hoping that with the introduction of magic here, it doesn't get too goofy, and they don't lean into the goofy, because I would like the magic to be taken seriously in the MCU, and that's fine and all. And I hope that there's a balance between whatever's going on with Ironheart and then whatever's going on with the magical element as well. So those are my 4 hopes. 4 predictions really quickly before we wrap up the segment. Prediction number 1, Ironheart sets up Vision Quest somehow. Maybe a post-credit scene? Just because Ironheart was filmed a long time ago doesn't, and I'm sure Vision Quest was barely conceived of at the time when Ironheart was first in pre-production, doesn't mean that plans can't change, right? I think in the ensuing time, Armor Wars has gone away. I'm sure that Ironheart was going to have some connection to Armor Wars, and that seems like that's no longer the case. How hard would it be to film a post-credit scene? I don't know. It seems like from all the rumors, and again, these are just rumors thus far. Nothing's been confirmed by the trades and whatnot, but it seems like, with especially the confirmation that Ultron is coming back, James Spader is coming back, and now all these rumors about Edith and Jarvis and Friday being cast, all the AIs coming back, there seems like there could be some connection here to Vision Quest. I think that's the most seamless connection in my mind to whatever's coming next, obviously aside from Young Avengers and whatever that's going to look like. I have no idea. I would not imagine that Ironheart is going to have a post-credit scene that sets up Avengers Doomsday. I don't know what that will look like. Maybe Young Avengers, maybe, but still, I doubt it. So my hope is that there is going to be, or my prediction rather, is that there is going to be some connection between Ironheart and Vision Quest. Probably a post-credit scene in my mind, but we'll see. Number 2, let's talk about that other magical character. I think Mephisto finally does show up. How long have we been saying that? Since WandaVision. It's crazy. And frankly, I have never been one to be on the Mephisto bandwagon. I know New Rockstars has been on that bandwagon for years and years, and I just, whatever. He's the devil. And that's his character. And there have been rumors and leaks and whatever that, Sacha Baron Cohen is going to be playing Mephisto. Fine, whatever. And I think that It's probably more likely now than ever that he shows up. And I predict that he's going to show up, but my prediction is that he's going to be disappointing. What I mean by that is that I don't know. I feel like there's a way in which we as a fandom have hyped up this appearance of Mephisto in the MCU. I don't know why, frankly. I don't think many people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but many people, think he's the greatest villain in the comics or anything like that. I think we just kind of have globbed onto him for some reason and held him up to be like this mysterious Marvel villain that has yet to show up in the MCU. I think he's going to show up, and I just think he's going to be disappointing and just kind of a throwaway cameo. That's my prediction. Speaking of cameos, I think, my third prediction, that Ned Leeds will have a cameo. I think a part of this show will take place in MIT. We see the dean, right, Jim Rash from Community. He shows up again from Captain America Civil War as well. And I think that, at this point, Ned and MJ should be at MIT. The reason I don't say Zendaya, MJ, is just because of money. No offense to Jacob Batalon. I know he was in Novocaine recently. No offense to him at all. But Zendaya or Tom Holland, but Tom Holland, Spider-Man's not at MIT, and also he has Spider-Man has a whole rights issue that he can't appear in TV shows. Anyways, I think that Ned is probably the most likely, so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Ned and Riri Williams have run into each other. So I think that I would think that it would be fun to just see a little cameo of Jacob Batalon remind us, hey, the Spider-Man universe is still going on, and there's some connective tissue here in the MCU as well. And finally, number 4, Robert Downey Jr. will make a cameo, not as Doctor Doom. Not really as Iron Man, but as the AI version of Iron Man. I don't think, and the reason I say this is because I don't read comics too much, but I do know that part of Riri Williams, at least in one comic run, is that she has an AI mentor of Tony Stark, right? So he's kind of showing up as the hologram. We see in the trailer that she is dabbling in that same kind of AI-ish technology, so there's that. I don't think it's going to be like Robert Downey Jr. is going to show up every single time Ironheart shows up in the MCU and be her little AI assistant. I just don't think that that's what's going to happen. Or even a voice, rather. But I do think that it would be kind of fun if, I don't know, she's trying to make an AI or whatever, or she models something after Tony Stark, and it's just a brief little cameo, because he's in the MCU now, right? He, from what it sounds like, he's been doing stuff with the MCU. He I think filmed stuff for Disneyland, if I'm not mistaken, so he's not beyond just doing other one-off things. I don't know how hard it would be contractually. I don't know how much they would have had to pay him just for a 2-minute cameo in Ironheart. That would have been maybe part of the decision as well. I don't know. I truly don't know. This would obviously not negate his death as Tony Stark in 616, just like how I'm hoping, at least, the Doomsday doesn't negate his death in 616. I think that needs to stay. It's poignant. It's powerful. But I think a little cameo as whatever an AI assistant would be, I think that would make at least a little more sense in my mind. There's comic book precedence for that, and I think, just with Robert Downey Jr. being back in the MCU, I think that there is a chance that will happen. So guys, those are 4 hopes and 4 predictions for Ironheart. I'm not going to say optimistic, but I remain interested, and I want to see how the show goes, and I'm hoping for the best, obviously. Like I said many times before, every single show, every single movie, barring a few exceptions, I really hope to succeed. I really hope that they're the best show or movie that I've watched all year. I love being surprised, and so, in a positive way, obviously. And so I'm really hoping that Ironheart turns out to be one of those shows that you're like, wow, one of the best MCU shows ever. Miss Marvel was like that. I still have problems with Miss Marvel on a whole, but overall, really liked it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever happens next. Guys, what do you think about these hopes and predictions for Ironheart? And what are your own hopes and predictions for Ironheart? Let me know in the comments down